Very, very disappointing. You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene Washington Capitals live post game show in Game 4 in the second round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. The Washington Capitals fell to the Carolina Hurricanes 5-2. The Hurricanes are up in the series 3-1. The Capitals are one game from elimination. I'm Wole, and I'm joined by former WNXT's Capitals reporter Ed Frankovic. What's going on, Ed?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Wale. Things aren't looking too good.
They're not for this team right now. Things are looking quite bad, and we'll dissect it in a few. Before we do that, let's knock out some particulars. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Also, if you're on our YouTube channel right now, please hit that red subscribe button and like this video. That's the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel. Don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene. And also like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Just search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. All right, let's get right into it. Like I mentioned, Caps lost 5-2. Now they're one game from elimination against the Hurricanes. Ed, your point of view of what happened tonight?
They were just outplayed. I think, through 5 periods, they didn't even score a goal in Carolina. I think Carolina is the better team right now. Certainly, Ferravari going out put a dent in the defense, and the Capitals just look gassed. They're getting beat to pucks. It seems like there's 2 Carolina players to 1 Cap all over the ice, and that's just a function of Carolina's playing better than the Capitals right now. They arguably have a better team. The Capitals they don't have any legs, and they're just getting beat. They've had spurts where they've been able to carry the play, but it hasn't been sustained. And Carolina has dominated, I think is the right word, this series through 4 games. And they're up 3-1, and they deserve it. And it's a major hill for the Capitals to climb. If it was, the Capitals were getting even chances and, a couple bad breaks, and the 4th goal, Sandin's stick gets caught in the boards. That's a bad break. But at the end of the day, it's not bad breaks that are costing the Capitals. They're just getting outplayed.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's the most troubling, especially in the postseason. We've seen like lower seeds beat high seeds all the time in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but usually sometimes it's like typically like that's like a hot goalkeeper or something to that sort. And I mentioned this before we started recording, but this is just like an all around. Like the Carolina just looks all around better than the Caps right now, all around, and it shows like even in the power play, like the Caps can get no movement in the power play, and I know that Carolina had the best power kill in the NHL, but it's just like there's no traction, there's no threat. It feels like Carolina is more on the attack side than the Caps when the Caps are on the power play. It's like they get an opportunity for shorthanded goals, and the Caps can barely get the puck at net. So it's just like just that little just that little point of the game throughout the series, and actually in this game just showed you like the dominance of the Panthers of the Hurricanes to me. Excuse me.
Yeah, they're just outskating the Capitals. They're faster. They're getting the pucks. I mean, you can try and say it's scheme all you want, but I just think they just look fresher and they look faster. And the Capitals, they had a great season. I'm not saying it's over yet, but it's looking that way. They've had a great season, and a lot of guys have never been this far, right? They've never had to endure this. And you think about it, the Capitals played like 60 games, almost 60 games in a row with the same 6D. And that's great and all, but that took its toll, right? And you can see Carlson looks worn out. Sandin is not a top 4D. He's more of a third pair. And when Ferravari goes out, he's got to step up and play top 4. And you can't ask Chikrin and Roy to carry everything back there. So at the end of the day, Carolina just looks deeper. Anderson hasn't had to do a whole lot. He hasn't had a lot of rubber. Logan Thompson's clearly been the Caps MVP through 4 games, but you don't score a goal for 5 periods in Carolina, you're not going to win either game. I mean, even though he's pushing the third, but where was that? Where was that the rest of the 2 games down there?
I'm gonna ask you that. Like, they show a fight in the third. They were down 2-0, get 1 goal, then get their power play goal. Then Carolina answers back with a goal, then they get a power play goal. Can you talk about like where was that at? Like, where was that fight at initially? Because I'll be honest, in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game, the Caps show fight. Like they had opportunity to score and opportunities to kind of get a lead, but they didn't take advantage of it. And I felt like after I forgot what happened. I won't say it was a power play or something happened where Carolina just turned up, and then the game just changed, and it was now on that Carolina frenzy, like that pace they play in terms of keeping the puck in the Cap zone and whatnot. But what changed to you in the third period compared to what we saw for the first two periods?
There was desperation in the Capitals game, and that's how they were able to claw back in it a little bit. Carolina took a couple bad penalties. But to your point earlier, the Capitals' power play just hasn't been very good all series. The only goal they've gotten was a 5-on-3.
Yeah.
And Carolina's gained momentum on the penalty kill because they're simply outskating the Capitals. They're winning the battles, right? They're getting the pucks quicker, and it's that way at 5-on-5, and it's that way regardless whether Carolina's on the power play or the Caps on the power play. It has been domination, and you got to score goals. You got to find ways to get to the net, and the Capitals just didn't do that. They didn't do enough of that for 5 periods. They had a push there, but when you're pushing like that, you're going to take gambles, and that's how a Taylor Hall gets behind you and gets a breakaway for a goal. And then your D's pushing up on the boards, trying to win a puck battle, a 3-2 game. And it's unfortunate his stick got caught in the boards, but even if it doesn't, he's probably out of you're gambling there, and you're going to give up odd man rushes, and it was just a matter of time. If the Capitals didn't tie it, that they were going to give up an odd man rush goal.
Let's see. But George had a comment said, I hate to say it because he's been great all year, but Rob Brindamore has completely outcoached Spencer Carberry. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think he had a scheme. He looked at the Capitals, what they do, and he came up with a plan to outdo what the Capitals do, and the Capitals just don't have the speed or the strength. I mean, you just see Carolina winning puck battle after puck battle. I would say Brind'Amour's definitely outcoached him, especially on special teams, and the way they've forechecked and played physical. Where the Capitals, they just like you watch the game, and I see Ovi hitting, I see Wilson delivering some hits, but for the most part, the Capitals aren't taking the body, and I think that's wear and tear and fatigue. I mean, this is a team that hasn't been this far in the playoffs. Carolina's got more guys with that experience, so yeah, I would say Brind'Amour is out coached Carberry, but I really think the difference has been just Carolina just looks stronger, faster, fresher than the Capitals do.
My friend David on Twitter said their inability, what was most disappointing about today, said their inability to get out of their own way. Stop saying you know what you have to do and just need to do it. Stop telegraphing passes, sustain pressure, clear the defensive zone cleanly, and stop acting cocky.
Yeah. I mean, the passing was terrible. I mean, the passing was abysmal for most of the night. It looked a lot like what we talked about after game 1. And, the Capitals' confidence, as the series is going on, Carolina just keeps getting more and more confidence. They're like, well, the Capitals will get a little flurry, but Carolina's like, that's all right. We'll just come right back and counterattack and score or put pressure. And, the Capitals were great all regular season, right? They could come back. They could pressure. They possessed the puck, but it's been Carolina possessing the puck. It's been hard hard to watch. The Capitals they're not getting the pucks. They're not making good passes. Carolina's made them look really bad.
Katine on X said on Twitter, X says that another disappointment said that the Cats cannot pass to each other instead of using the boards and giving the puck away. Also, Spencer Carberry can't coach his players. There's no change of strategy during the game. In terms of disappointment of this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're valid points, right? The passing was terrible. They were running into each other. There was some Keystone Cop moments out there, and they're trying some cross ice passes instead of just putting pucks deep and trying to go get physical and put a forecheck on. Only thing I can think of is that they just don't feel like they have the legs that they can get there fast enough to get them. I mean, Carolina's done a good job of running some interference right in front of the Capitals' forecheck. They finally got called for it with Orlov, but they've done a really good job just going right up to that line. That's where I'll give Brind'Amour credit. They have been strategic in breaking up any type of sustained forecheck the Capitals could put together, and that they have done a good job of just being just enough in the way that the Capitals can't come in there with speed and hit their D. And on the other end of the ice, Carolina's been taking runs at Sandin and Carlson all series, and the Capitals have not done a good job of putting up any type of interference to slow that.
George said, without Logan Thompson, as excellent as this series is a rout.
Oh, for sure. Logan Thompson's been absolute star for the Capitals. That's a big positive you can take away from this series, because I don't think they're coming back. I mean, maybe they win Game 5, but they're just not going to win 3 in a row against this team unless somebody on Carolina gets hurt. A couple guys get hurt. But yeah, Logan Thompson's the bright spot. Tom Wilson's given everything he's had. Other guys, they just and Protas has gotten better as the series going on. Obviously, the injury hurt him.
Yeah,
getting him in shape, but they just haven't played well up the middle. I mean, Strome and Dubois and Eller, none of those 3 guys have had a good series. And I think we talked before the series. I said it's going to come down to their centers. Their centers can now play the Carolina centers. They should win the series. Well, it's been completely the other way. The only center you can say that's held his own is probably Dowd.
Yeah, Dowd has played pretty well. I just feel like we were chatting before the end of the game. I want to say during the first or second period, and I mentioned like what was annoying me the most about this is just, and you said effort. It's just I felt like they were being bullied, and that's the thing I didn't like. It's just that they were quick to, like you said, they were obviously skating faster, but they were more physical, right? And I just felt like you're the one you're down 2-1. You're down 2-1 with an opportunity to be down 3-1. You need to play with a different edge, because you don't want it to go 3-1, because again, it's going to be hard to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Where was that intensity? Why did it seem like, is it like they're, and I'm asking you because you covered this team for most of the season. Do they have like a frail mentality rather than being like a bully on the block? Because I felt like playing Carolina. I remember you telling me, watch this Carolina game in the regular season. And I felt when I watched that game, the Caps had more fight in that game. Granted, you said they were missing some people, but they had more fight. I don't see that same fight. And I know it's the postseason, but I don't see the same fight.
Yeah, they've been pushed around physically. And again, I go back to, I think Carolina's done a really good job of protecting their defensemen from getting big hits behind the net, right?
Okay.
And where on the opposite side, the Capitals have routinely taken big hits from Sandin, like Montreal picked on Sandin, and Carolina's picked on Sandin, and Carlson's been hit almost every time he touched the puck as well. And I think that's where maybe Carberry and his staff needed to figure out a way to slow that forecheck, whether it's, because Carolina's done a really good job of clogging those lanes.
Yeah.
And there's been no clear shots on their defensemen, where it's been the other way around. And, those hits take a toll, especially when you play a tough series with Montreal. I know they won in 5 games, but that was a tough series. And then they come against Carolina, who's bigger and looks a little faster.
Yeah.
And it just is taking its toll. And the Capitals actually look like they're out of gas. I mean, it looks like, they had a great season, and, they won a big playoff series, and that's a first. They hadn't won a series since they won the Cup. So positive steps there. But I just think Carolina is the bigger and better team right now. And that's the difference. They're and Brendan Moore has done a better job coaching, right? He's figured out how to take advantage of his size and his speed to protect his defensemen. Meanwhile, hitting the Capitals defensemen, making them make bad passes and hemming them in. It's been, how much time the zone time has been completely dominated.
Almost crazy. That's the annoying part. Like the amount of time they spend in the Cap zone is crazy. It's ridiculous, actually. For a postseason game, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and Carolina is just they've held the blue line with their defensemen the whole series, because they're just so confident that somebody on the weak side is going to be able to cover if the Caps get out. And the Capitals haven't had a lot of odd man breaks. And there's been a lot of odd man breaks against for Carolina.
Yes.
Carolina's won that stat handily, and the team that usually gets that's going to win games in series.
So Katina also wanted to add in terms of what disappointed what disappointed was the Caps keep cycling the puck and no one's there to receive it in the defensive zone. In the offensive zone, same thing, or they keep recycling the puck till they lose it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there was several times I felt like they overpassed,
Yeah,
especially in the in the offensive zone. It's like, okay, you've got to throw the puck on net. You've got guys at the
I
net,
agree. I
and they're
agree.
trying to make this cross ice backdoor pass, and it's like, just throw it at the net. And they didn't do enough of that. I know Carberry doesn't like to play that way, but
Yeah,
you have to adjust. And they made Frederick Anderson look like Martin Brodeur or Patrick Waugh. He didn't
yeah,
have to do much, right?
yeah,
He scored 2 goals in 6 periods. It's you got to start getting pucks there. They were getting some bodies, but not enough pucks. So I blame that a bit on the scheme. There's a little too much overpassing, trying to find
yeah,
the perfect shot, and you
yeah.
just got to rip it sometimes. I mean, Carolina's first game just had a guy going in traffic. It was after sustained pressure. It was actually
Mm.
after Sandin has a horrible dump out and change,
Mm-hmm.
and that catches the Capitals in a line change, and they come with speed in there, and they hem the Caps in, and guy just goes to the net, calls a little screen, and Goss's Bear puts it in. He took
Yeah,
Logan Thompson's eyes away. Cats just
yeah.
didn't do enough of that. They didn't put enough pucks or bodies to the net, and Carolina just seemed to want it more on the ice.
But you like you said, that's more of the scheme. Like they want a quality shot. That's the thing that Carberry's and it preaches. Like they only it's not about the abundance of shot attempts. It's the quality of the shot, right? Compared to
Yeah,
what the Hurricanes are doing, which I kind of like. It's like getting many shots to the net and take your chances that way, right? Trying to get bodies in the net, take as many shots, and trying to create opportunities. It's just like you're right. It's like in this situation, and especially the way this Carolina team is playing, I wouldn't mind the Caps kind of like taking more shots at the net because this team they're faster, right? They're faster, they're physical, they're hungrier. Like you may have to try to scrap out. You got to scrap out some goals rather than trying to get the perfect pass.
yeah. It's just been too much of a finesse game in the
Yeah.
offensive zone, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the power play is just awful. They had
It's
that
terrible.
4 minute power play, and they couldn't even get it in the zone. They're trying to do the slingshot, and it looked like the rubber band was broken because there was no speed coming from that slingshot.
Yeah, yeah, it was like that was so disappointing. You had a 4 minute minor, and you barely got a shot attempt.
Yeah, and they had some quality chances the other way, like you mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
So
And they look like the more aggressive. They look like they look like they look like the team on the power play.
yeah, they did. They built momentum off that 4 minute kill, and
Yeah.
the Capitals did absolutely nothing. It was just really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, you had two days between games. You got to figure out a way to be able to get in around that forecheck. Well,
Yeah.
they're standing guys up at the line. You got to figure out a way to get pucks in there and get to them. And they just could not come up with a way to get into the zone on the power play. And it took a 5-on-3 to finally score a goal on the power play. So even after that, they had a 5-on-4 with a minute after making it 3-2, and they just
Still couldn't do anything with
score.
it. Yeah. So you speaking of the power play goal, Ovi had his first goal. What is it going to take to get Ovi truly loose? A 5-on-3, that's obviously a big advantage for him and on a power play. Ovi's tremendous on a power play, but what is it going to take for him to kind of step up because they need their captain, they need their guy.
Well, you saw what they were doing in the third period, and I actually
Yeah.
liked it. They put him down in front of the net.
Yeah.
And they just got to get more pucks there.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to seen that tried sooner because they're taking away Ovi all they could
Yeah.
on the point. And I mean, I'm not sure the big man looks really tired right now. I mean,
Yeah.
the goal chase I think took a lot out of him.
Okay.
He did have a good first round. He's trying to hit. He was one of the few guys hitting out there. He's trying to have a spark, but you know, he's trying to keep it with some really good young players, and he just can't do it at 39. So
Yeah.
the best strategy is to put him in front of the net and try and use his strength and get pucks there for rebounds. So, but they couldn't even get it in the zone earlier to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then late they tried, and Carolina did a good job of clogging some lanes and not letting pucks get there. A couple block shots. So the best thing is to try and get him in front of the net. Try and get him to be able to hit some of their D because he's bigger than
Mm-hmm.
those guys. He's going to hurt them when he hits them. But Carolina, Brenda Moore's scheme has allowed the Capitals, not to be able to get to their defensemen and hit them.
George has a question. Says, can they up their physicality to try and turn this series around, or is that not their game?
Well, I mean, you got Wilson, you got Ovechkin can definitely play the body, but there's not many other guys. Connor McMichael, Mangiapane, these are speed guys. Ryan Leonard, he was back in the lineup tonight. He's not going to hit you, right? He's going to try, but they're not big enough, strong enough. These Carolina guys slaving these defensemen back there. They're big. Svechnikov at forward, he's big, and so the Capitals are trying, but they're bouncing off of them. You want to try and be physical. But on the one play where Taylor Hall had the breakaway, two guys went in to try and hit Walker, and they were a little late. And then you have the D kind of gambling because those two forecheckers are in behind the net, so they're kind of pushing up, and that just allowed Tyler Hall to kind of sit back there and wait for a pass. And so that's the thing. You got to be smart if you go and try and hit. You got to make sure you at least have a cushion. And the Capitals were down a goal and they gambled and it cost them. So,
all right. So going into Game 5, it's going to be in DC. For Cap fans, like, is there any hope? Is there any hope? Can they get one at home and kind of to create fear into the Hurricanes, knowing that, and to say, hey, you better win in Carolina. If you don't, we bring it back home and maybe we'll take the series in 7.
Yeah, they got to play a game like they did in Game 2. I mean, the first 40 minutes of Game 2 is the best the Capitals played all series. So they got to find a way to get back to that and play that type of game. It's gonna be hard. Like I said, they're not playing well up the middle. Strome, PLD, and Eller have not been good, and those three guys have got to find a way to bring their game up if the Capitals are going to have any chance.
Yeah, I would like them to really start fast and just start, to me, not even start fast in scoring, but just impose your will. Impose your will. It doesn't mean even score first. Go into the game with a couple of good checks, just some hitting, and just to show Carolina that you're here, you're not ready to quit. You know what I mean? Because I felt like once Carolina scored the first goal, and then the way they were moving tonight, I saw a lot of individuals with their heads down. I didn't like that. I didn't like the body language. So I just feel like in DC, I just want them to come in there with more grit, right? Or more grit and more passion. I'm not even talking about scoring the first goal, to be honest with you, Ed. I just want to see more grit and more passion, just to know that let Carolina know that this is still going to be a series. This is going to be this game, right? This game tonight is gonna be 60 minutes of. It's going to be 60 minutes of hell for you. At least 60 minutes. And we got overtime. It's going to be 60 minutes of hell, right? And then if you get a W out of that, letting them know that we're going to be here again. We're going to have the same type of intensity when we go back to Raleigh.
Yeah, they have to do whatever they can to just win a game. They have to get. I mean, a guy like they got Ovechkin and Wilson can definitely play the body. Protas is going to have to be more physical.
Yeah.
He like I said, he's been getting stronger as the series going on. While I've seen other guys kind of fade as it's going on. They're going to have to get. There's some moments in the third period where I thought we were seeing, Strome play well. He's going to have to be more consistent. He has not been good for 4 games here. So it's going to have to be very much like Game 2, that effort, that willingness to win pucks, win the battles. And it's not just, hitting their D behind the net. There's a lot of stuff in the neutral zone where Carolina's just winning one-on-one battles or using their physical size. And the Capitals got a little frustrated tonight. It's a 3-2 game, and Pierre-Luc Dubois takes that terrible holding penalty.
That's terrible.
That just looked like frustration from him. It's like there's no need to do that. The puck's on the boards. You're right next to the guy. He's not going to make any play, and he just kind of puts his arm all over him. And now you're killing penalties for 2 minutes, right? So you just can't do those type of things in a playoff game.
Yeah, I totally agree. So they definitely were frustrated, and also Carolina's been to me they've been more strong with the puck. You know what I mean? Within contact, they kind of can keep balance with the puck. Where the Caps, they're real fragile with the puck. Any little touch, they're losing the puck. So I just feel like the Caps are. I mean the Hurricanes have been more strong with the puck.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. That's indisputable. They're winning the one-on-one battles. When they possess the puck, it's harder for the Capitals to get away from them. When the Capitals have the puck, it seems like Carolina's easily taking it from them on a lot of the circumstances.
Well, hopefully the Caps can turn this around and get one game. I just feel like it's one game at a time. Like you said, they can just take the game in DC. Maybe maybe that would change the momentum. They can just take the game in DC because one
Yeah,
game
they're
at
going
a
to have the
time.
crowd on their side.
Yeah,
And we talked about this before the series. Carolina is a tough place to play.
Yeah,
I mean, the Capitals have lost all 5 playoff games there. Been outscored. What they were outscored 9-2 these 2 games. It's been pretty ugly down there. They haven't been real close. I mean, the Capitals did have it within 1 with 5 minutes to go.
It was close, yeah.
But they got to be somehow find a sustained effort. And these mistakes with turnovers, I think Carberry and his staff need to figure out a way to do what Carolina is doing, get a little bit of interference without getting a penalty on the Carolina forwards coming in trying to hit their D, because our D are getting hit a lot. It's wearing them down, and it's as the game goes on, they start making more mistakes because they're thinking about getting hit. They're moving the puck quicker. So they've got to find a way to protect in their D to allow them to make that first pass, that first pass be better, because the first pass has not been good. And if your first pass is not good on a breakout, you're going to continue to have problems. And that's been the problem, one of the big problems in this series.
Well, hopefully, they can change them on Thursday. Game 5 is Thursday.
So we got 2 days again, right? So they can
2 days.
regroup.
Yeah, 2 days. 2 days. They get
So
fresh.
that
They
is
rest their
good.
body.
If it was Wednesday, I would feel less confident. 2 days, Capitals need to get a day to get their, because they just look tired too.
They did look tired.
And part of that is they're getting hit a lot more than Carolina is. So if Carberry and his staff got to really look through some film, figure out ways to just get guys in the way to prevent Carolina from having these straight line runs at their D. There's too many straight line runs at the Capitals defense. They got to make them have to go a little bit east to west to get to the Capitals defenseman. If they can do that, I think that will allow that first pass coming out of the zone to be better. And then you can burn Carolina for being aggressive coming in after your D.
Yeah.
But they've got to find a way to just slow that forecheck down.
Well, hopefully they do. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Caps post-game show. Hopefully game 5 will be something more positive. Ed, you're going to be around for game 5?
I will, absolutely. Thursday night.
Thursday night. We got a post-game show Thursday night. Hopefully it's a Caps win, and we can extend this whole great partnership. Anyway, you've been listening. I know, right? Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Scene for ages. You dig? Deuces. We are out. Come on, Caps. Save the season.
Peace.